Hello everybody, welcome to the Blue Blanc Banter Podcast. I am Harry Rice. I will be your host for this lovely, wonderful podcast, the first episode, starting partway through the season, because that's obviously the best time to start a hockey podcast. Talking about any team is partway through the season. But in case you can't tell, I am a Montreal Canadiens fan. Love the Canadiens. I've been a fan of them since about 2016. That whole 2016-17 season, very fun. Now you guys might be wondering, Harry, what's your deal? What's the pod going to be? We're just going to be shooting the shit, really. I'm just going to be talking about the games that happened this week, or when I do the pod regularly, just the games in that week. I'm going to talk if there's any trades this week. There was one. It's very minor, but I'll still give it a mention. If there's any signings, maybe I'll talk about some rumors. Maybe. I don't know. But, yeah. So, again, this is going to be a general shoot-the-shit type of podcast. I'm thinking we maybe go for like half an hour, maybe 45 minutes. I'm thinking this is going to kind of be short, condensed, just more so, again, just shooting the shit. So we're going to do that. The Canadiens had 3 games this week. I think that they actually had a really good week overall. We defeated the Islanders in overtime, 2-1. We beat the Predators 3-0, and the game that happened tonight as I'm recording this, hopefully uploading as well, fingers crossed, we lost 4-2 to the Washington Capitals. We're going to quickly recap those games. I'm not going to go into detail like I used to do on the old streams. That's something else that I realized I should say. I think I was trying way too hard to be the hockey guy with the type of analysis I was doing. It didn't really fit me all that well. So, yeah. Again, it's going to be a general chat. So, Tuesday, we played the Islanders. Heading into it, the Islanders, bit of a rocky road, I feel like. I feel like they were winning a couple games. They had a little bit of momentum. The Canadiens had a lot of momentum in their own because Patrik Laine debuts for them. Montreal gets Patrik Laine. He missed the first 24 games. If he missed 42, my God, I don't know if I'd be here right now. He missed the first 24 games of the year with his knee sprain after the dirty hit from Cedric Pare. And who would open the scoring? It'd be Patrik Laine. My God, 7:23. It was a power play goal from Hudson Suzuki. Laine, I thought, looked really good in that game. I thought that he was definitely one of the standouts. Him and Montembeault both looked really, really good that game. Hudson, he'd extend a point streak to 6 games this week. Tonight's game would be a 6-game point streak. At this point, it's 4. Suzuki got an assist there. Anders Lee would tie the game up late in the second from Wahlstrom and Dobson. Just a good shot there. And in overtime, it would take all the way until overtime for another goal to be scored. 2:39 in. Suzuki would have a 2-point night. He got his 10th goal of the year from Matheson and Caulfield. Beauty of a shot. Just got his own, took the shot. It went off him. He got his own rebound, backhanded it in. Beauty shot. Just great there for Suzuki. Canadiens won that one. I thought it was really hard fought. Canadiens had a really good pace to their game, I think, all this week. For the most part. And we'll get into the Capitals game in a minute. I might spend a little more time on the Capitals game because that one did happen tonight. But the Canadiens, I thought, played very well against the Islanders. Thursday, against the Predators, like I said, it's a 3-0 win. The opening scoring would be Jake Evans on a really, really nice shorthanded look, unassisted. I believe he blocked a shot, got on a breakaway. Really good wrister as he had, I believe it was Yoel Armia with him. Good 2-on-1 chance. Evans just rifles it. Good shot there. And that would take us all the way to the third period. A minute 4. That was 7:50 into the first period, by the way. 1:14 in. Who else? Patrik Laine. He scores in 2 straight games there. He got that one from Hudson and Suzuki. So Hudson, there he goes, extending a point streak to 5 games at that point. Suzuki, I believe, is on a 4-game point streak after the Predators game. That would be a power play goal. Yoel Armia would seal the deal with the empty netter from Evans and Jackeye, 1914. Yeah, just a really good game again. The Canadiens outpacing the Predators. They outshot them by a shot, which ended up being the empty netter, basically. Montembeault played fantastic. There were plenty of looks that the Predators had that they could have scored on, including the third period where the Habs were outshot 13-5. Montembeault really stood on his head in that period. But even with that, the Canadiens I thought had a really good pace to their game. Heading into tonight's game against the Capitals, I thought they played well. Everybody was chipping in, especially these first 2 games with Laine in the lineup. Everybody was on all cylinders. Everybody was playing well. Laine was out there. Hudson was putting in strides. Everybody was skating quickly, good pace, jump in their game. And then tonight happens. So tonight is weird to talk about because in the first period, let's get through the scoring, and as it goes along, I'll mention what I want to talk about. So in the first period, the scoring is opened by Newhook with his 6th of the year. I believe they said his first goal in 6 or 7 games, something like that. But Newhook gets his 6th of the year from Caulfield and Hudson. So Hudson, there he goes. He extends his point streak to 6. So that's probably one of the few positives to the Canadian season thus far. And then, that was at 11:09, by the way. And then, 16 minutes in, with 4 minutes left, Cole Caulfield gets his 17th of the year from Nick Suzuki. Beauty of a shot. People thought it went off Newhook. It looked like it did, but on the replay, you can kind of tell it didn't. Newhook's body language said that was Caulfield's goal. Unfortunately, Newhook doesn't get an assist because he's really the reason that goal happens. He had a really good turnover. He caused the turnover that led to the goal. I think he should have been given an assist. He will have an assist in my heart for that goal. But Cole Caulfield opened the scoring there, 2-0, and then everything kind of flips because the Canadians had a really good first period. They only outshot the Capitals 10-9, but there was pace. They looked really good. Funny enough, the guy who probably didn't have enough stride was Patrik Laine. Weirdly enough, his first and second game, he was really good, really skating. Third game, for some reason, I don't know if it was just like the soreness, because I know he mentioned that he felt like shit after the first game with how his legs were. I don't know if it just caught up to him or he just wasn't super in it this game. But weirdly, he was the slowest one in that first period. But yeah, so after the first period, the Habs do lead 2-0, and then in the second period, 33 seconds in, Pierre-Luc Dubois, the former potential Canadian, scores his 4th of the year from Carlson and Radish. A really good slapper from the point. Just beats Montembeault. There's 3 men screening him. He doesn't see it go far side, top shelf, right corner. Really good goal there. That would basically hold it until the third period, but the Canadians get a breakaway attempt from Brendan Gallagher, who misses on it. He had a really good chance, but he misses. And in the third period, Struble gets a breakaway. He gets stopped. Anderson then gets a breakaway. He's stopped. Oh God, who was the next? I think it was Suzuki who gets a breakaway and he's stopped. And then there was one more. I forget who it was. He stopped. There was 4 breakaways for the Canadians in the span of like 5 minutes. Tom Wilson scores 7-10 in to tie the game from Protas and Roy. And if that's the one that I'm thinking of, no, that's the goal where Matheson just completely refused to block the shot. It's off of a Protas rebound. Wilson just gets it and ends up just squeaking it by Montembeault, basically at the goal line on the right side. To the left of Montembeault. I thought it was a good goal. I think Matheson, if he had done an effort to shot block, that goal probably doesn't go in. And then a couple minutes later, Wilson scores again. It's a really shitty turnover. Protas, Dubois and Protas get the assist there. Protas, I thought, had a good game. He's one of the Capitals that I like. Oh, I should say, by the way, the Ovi list, Washington Capitals, for the 2 of you who don't know, Ovi has had a broken leg for the past 2 weeks. Somehow he's skating, though. Fucking insane, this guy. Dude's a beast. But he wasn't good enough to go, obviously, because a broken leg, you're going to need more than 2 weeks to recover that shit, my God. But yeah, the Ovi list Capitals, who should have been ripe for the taking, but they've still been quite good without Ovechkin, so that sucks for the Canadians. But Wilson scores that one, and it's just a really shitty turnover. The Habs need to be careful there. By the third period, that's the thing, in this game at least. The first period, Habs are fantastic, really rushing, playing very well. Second period is a bit more even. You can tell it was kind of going in the Capitals' favor. Third period, it was all Capitals. The Canadians get on those 4 breakaways, and they did good of spotting the Capitals and getting by them in that regard. They did good. This should have been if you're including all the Capitals goals, this should have been a 6-4 Canadiens win. Oh, you could argue 7-4 with a potential empty netter. But this should have been a 6-4 Canadiens win. We rifled, you could argue actually 7-4 with the Gallagher breakaway in the second period. We missed at least 5 breakaways. And my God, you cannot win hockey games if you're flubbing on all 5. Thompson had a really good poke on, I think it was Suzuki's attempt. No, Suzuki I think went 5-hole. I think it might have been Slavkovsky or Doc that got that other one. That was a really good poke check from Thompson. But the other 4 that were missed, Struble, you could kind of give an excuse to that. He's not a goal scorer. He's a defensive defenseman, a stay-at-home guy, which, how the hell is he on the breakaway in the first place then? But, yeah, I wasn't a fan of that. And then the penalties come. And I'll admit, the officials in the third kind of sucked a lot of penis. They really kind of sucked. So, what happens? Oh my God! Okay, so what happens is Josh Anderson, Laine Hudson is at the blue line with Anderson because they're kind of switching. Hudson's going up. He's along the left side of the wall and he gets an open space, basically in the slot. He's about to take a shot. Anderson has gotten called for a penalty because his dumbass decides to interfere with Andrew Mangiapane. Despite Mangiapane being nowhere near the puck, Hudson is already along the wall, and Anderson just runs into him. It's not a hard hit or anything, but just, it's an interference. I argue the refs shouldn't call that because there's an imminent scoring chance. And if it goes back the other way, it's actually probably going to help Mangiapane more to get him on a probable 2-on-1. But the refs call it, so Anderson is my moron of the week. Get used to him being that until he's traded. God damn it, that can't happen fast enough. And the Capitals score. Dylan Strome would score on that, his 9th of the year from Chychrun and McMichael at 13:49 to give the Capitals the 2-goal lead. And Wilson's just completely left alone in front to score Montembeault. Monty has zero chance on that unless he spears Tom Wilson, in which case he probably gets a penalty and or a probable ejection. So Monty had no chance on 3 of these 4 goals, I will say. And then 40 seconds later, the Caps get another scoring chance. Hudson pats Pierre-Luc Dubois, essentially. Dubois runs into Montembeault, so naturally Hudson got called for a hold. There was a hold back in the second period that was a legitimate hold where Matheson or Anderson, one of the two, got held down for like 20-30 seconds, and the refs just refused to call it. There was a cross-check from behind on Suzuki that refused to get called. Ironically, there was actually another one that got called with like 2 minutes left. Canadians just couldn't finish it out. They would call the timeout. Capitals actually caught the timeout right before their 4th goal, so that was actually really well executed on their part. But yeah, we called the timeout with 1:30. We can't get any goals, unfortunately, especially with the power play going 6-on-4. So yeah, I will say a very good week though for the Canadians. I mean, we kind of took it to the first place Washington Capitals for a period and a half. Could have beaten them if only Logan Thompson wasn't phenomenal out of his mind, playing really well. I thought Logan Thompson had a pretty good game despite only facing 24 shots. 5 of those that 5 of the 22 that he didn't allow probably should have been goals again. Those 5 breakaways, you got to score on at least one of them. At least one of them is what I would want. But yeah, the Canadians have a pretty decent week, I would argue, with a 2-1-0 record. We are now 10-14-3. Unfortunately, still, I believe 4 points back of a potential playoff spot. So, really got to hope that this week we play well. And speaking of which, before we get into the trade that happened and a couple little, I guess you could say a couple little rumors, if you will, we got to talk about the upcoming schedule. What's coming on this week for the Montreal Canadiens? So the Canadiens, what we've got coming up is Monday. We are facing the Anaheim Ducks, and that is a Amazon Prime game. So I believe in Quebec and whatever, it's on RDS in French, I believe. But it is an Amazon Prime game that's on at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. All these are Eastern Standard Time. Then we don't play till Thursday. That's Penguins. That ends our 5-game homestand. All 3 games this week, by the way, were home games. I should have mentioned that. And then we're on the road Saturday, a huge test. That is a game against the Winnipeg Jets, who admittedly kind of faltering a little bit. They're not as good as they were maybe 10 games ago, but yeah. What do I predict? I'm predicting actually another 2-1 week, actually. I think we beat the Ducks, should be able to beat them. I think we can beat the Penguins, and then, of course, we lose to the Jets, so that's going to be a very fun week for the Montreal Canadiens. Again, should go 2-1, so we should go to 12-15-3, I think I said, so, 12-15-3, so if we can keep up these types of weeks, now obviously we are going to have to go on some type of winning streak, have a couple 3-0 weeks, maybe 4-0 weeks if we have 4 games in a week. We're going to have to go on a bit of a winning streak if we want a chance to make the playoffs, but we're slowly getting there, and honestly, I've got no issue with having some more 2-1 weeks. I think the Canadiens, especially now that we have Laine back, are showing a good amount of progress. This is I think what we wanted out of the start of the year is being far more competitive in games, having meaningful games into January, February, even March. I think is what we're going to get back into. And yeah, I'm just a fan of what the Canadiens had this week. Again, tonight's game, yeah, maybe got a little away from them, unfortunately. We blow the 2-0 lead, but it's the first place Capitals. They're apparently first in the NHL with, I think, including tonight now, I believe 11 comebacks to win games. So I think they're 11. I think it's 11. It might be 10. I know they lead the league in comebacks to win games, and the Canadiens have now 7 blown leads in games. So that's not good enough. But again, with the Capitals, that's a team that's understandable because they're just that damn good. So yeah. And now that we're done with the actual hockeys that were happening for the Canadiens, there was a minor trade that happened. It's a very AHL trade that went down. We're going to talk about it. So the Canadiens, this year in March, had acquired Jacob Perreault right after the trade deadline for Jan Mysak from the Ducks. Jacob Perreault has already been traded. He has been dealt to the Edmonton Oilers in exchange for Noel Hoffenmeyer, which is a fantastic name. I think we win the trade just off the name alone. Jacob Perreault, who was a former first-round pick in 2020, he's a guy that just really unfortunately hasn't clicked. He's not made the NHL. He's played 1 career game, and that was back in 21-22. This year, with the Laval Rocket, he played in 6 games. He had a 4 penalty minutes and a -3. Got sent down to Trois-Rivières. You're wondering why I didn't mention his points. He didn't have any. In the ECHL, he's got 5 games, 1 goal for assist, 5 points. Also 4 penalty minutes and a +1. So yeah, he's been traded. Best of luck to Jacob Perreault. Hopefully he finds his way to the NHL eventually, and it sucks he couldn't do it with us, but yeah. Noel Hoffenmeyer, meanwhile, 2 years ago, actually with the Toronto Marlies, had a 38-point campaign. Pretty good. Last year he had 18 points. This year, actually, so far, he's actually been pretty okay. 11 games, 1 goal, 6 assists, 7 points. Just 2 penalty minutes and a +1 for the Bakersfield Condors. So, again, very AHL trade. Just, again, minor leaguer for minor leaguer. I do think the Canadiens win the deal just based off of the name Noel Hoffenmeyer. But, yeah. Let me know what you guys think. From what I've heard from Oilers fans, he's your standard AHL defenseman. He'll do things. He'll do things once in a while. So, yeah, best of luck to Noel Hoffenmeyer in Laval, and thank you for your service, Jacob Perreault. I'm going to talk about the actual roster for a second, because I think that they're, well, not necessarily the roster, but more so some of the rumors that have been going around, the Montreal Canadiens, and good rumors, actually, too. So, of course, the Canadiens, with how they've been right now, It's looking like they are probably going to sell at the trade deadline. Unless we begin to really keep pace the way we've been the last 3 games since Laine's been in the lineup, it's looking like we are probably going to sell. And that's a lot of the veterans like Mike Matheson, David Savard, Jake Evans, Yoel Armia, Christian Dvorak. These guys are on expiring contracts. I know Matheson has another year, but these types of veterans. However, it has actually come out, thankfully, that Jake Evans appears will not be traded. There's a rumor right now that the Canadians, well, not necessarily rumor, more or less confirmation actually, that the Canadians have taken Jake Evans off of the trade block, and he will not be getting traded. He will not be dealt. The Montreal Canadiens will be keeping him, and yeah, he's going to remain a Canadian for the rest of the season at the very least. They would like to try and get an extension done with him, so I'd love it. I've been a huge fan of Jake Evans the past couple years since he made the lineup 4 years ago, I believe. He's only 28. He's turning 29, basically like right at the end of the year, I believe. Yeah, I'm a huge Jake Evans fan. Would love to see this guy stick around long term. Even if it's just, say, a 3-4 year deal, just to, kind of get him until Atos Koivu, guys like this are ready to take the mantle. I'd have zero issue with keeping Jake Evans, and even if it means trading him after, say, the second year because some guys are ready, you still get 2 more good years out of Jake Evans, and with the way he's been playing this year, he's definitely earned an extension. He's got 5 goals, 14 points in 27 games. Fantastic defensively, great mainstay on that penalty kill. 3rd in the league penalty kill, by the way. It might be 4th after tonight because we did allow a power play goal, but yeah. Now as for me, I'll give my opinions real quick because I know that there's going to be some discussion about the veterans. Matheson, I'd move. I know he's 4th on the team in points, but my God, he doesn't defend. He's trash defensively. He makes an effort some nights. It's so weird. First period, really good shot block from Matheson. By the 3rd period, he wasn't trying. He was going for all offense, and it ended up costing the Canadians on one of the goals. Brendan Gallagher, I would not have believed you if you told me this last year. If you told me I was going to say this last year. I would keep Brendan Gallagher for the rest of the year. At the very least, I think he's actually been... I think Gallagher's been quite good this year, actually. I'm really impressed with Brendan Gallagher. He's got 8 goals, 13 points in 27 games. He's on pace for about 40 goals, probably a 2020 season, I would imagine. Honestly, I'm happy with Brendan Gallagher. Yoel Armia, if the Canadians get into into the playoff race, I don't think Armia gets dealt, mostly because he is, like Evans, very good on the penalty kill. A little bit underrated, actually. He's got 3 goals, 11 points in 27 games this year. I think he's been okay. But it wouldn't surprise me if the Canadians still look to move him. I think that they could get a fourth round pick, maybe a 3rd for Armia. I think they can get something. Anderson, of course, we all know he should have been gone 3 years ago. He's trash. Dvorak, he's okay. He's whatever. He's your 4th line center. You can move on from him. You can give someone the call up instead. You give Lucas Condata another chance. I don't know. Maybe call up Barry Boulet. He thinks he deserves to be in the NHL. Give him that chance to prove himself. Kirby Dach, I think, should also be a guy that gets dealt. I understand the second line. You've got the triplet towers with Dach, Laine, and Slafkovsky. Dach's been trash this year. He has 1 goal, 8 points, 27 games. I understand the ACL and the MCL and coming back from that injury. It's very tough. He literally missed all of last year. Laine's equaled his goal total in 3 games. Actually, he has more goals than him. He has 1 goal, 8 points in 27 games. Laine has more goals than Dach while playing 24 less games. So, yeah. And then David Savard... It's tough with Savard, because I really like Savard. I think he's good defensively. I think he's a really big help to Hudson and to Gooley and to the guys on the blue line, Arbor Jacki as well. I think that these guys, you could use a guy like David Savard. If you're trading one or the other to get more value, I think you deal Matheson. If you're worried about the future in terms of defending with guys like Hudson, and to a lesser extent Mayu, because he's not here right now, but say he's here next year, I think you keep Savard. I think you extend him to a 1 or 2 year deal. Give Reinbacher maybe the year in Laval next year, and then call him up, because I know he was supposed to be in Laval this year, called up next year. Unfortunately, the injury, I think, is going to cost him a bit of his development. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. So I think you keep Savard, trade Matheson. However, if you get a first-round pick for David Savard, my God, I think you got to go for it. I think if you can trade Savard and end up keeping Matheson, then I think you would almost have to go for that at that point. And then, of course, Laine, there's a 0% chance we're trading Laine. We're probably looking to extend him once July 1st hits, honestly, during that last year of his contract. And Caden Primo, I know there's rumors about him being traded. I think it was more so going to happen if Dobesh didn't get hurt last night in Laval's game against the Marlies. But unfortunately now, I do believe that we are going to keep Caden Primo for now. If it's not a serious injury, I think there's a chance we do look to deal him and maybe call up Connor Hughes, because I know with Laval, it's been a very very good season for Laval, and while I personally wouldn't really want to mess with that, I would prefer Laval to have a very solid year this year. Connor Hughes is having a fantastic run down there right now. He's played 10 games, 2.17 goals against average, and a 9.21. Dobesh has a 2.55 and a 9.04 in 13 games. Honestly, I was a huge fan of Hughes in that one game he played last year or this past year in preseason with the Canadians. I was a big fan of him during that half period actually he got. And you could kind of tell there was something there with him. Honestly, I'd have no issue calling him up with for a couple games. He can't be worse than Primo. I love Primo, but my God, I'm unfortunately disappointed with him. Also, shout out Harry Bernard. He's playing in Laval right now as well. He came back from his injury recently. But yeah, I just want to talk about the Canadians for a little while. I'll be back up here again next Saturday, probably Saturday night, maybe Sunday afternoon, who knows, to talk about the Canadians game from next week, or that week, whatever, however the proper verbiage is. And I also want to mention now, I will not be up here next Saturday. I will instead be going live, not be going live, but you know what I mean, uploading a pod on the 23rd instead. Why? Well, because obviously Christmas is 2 days later, and the Canadians play on the 23rd, not on Christmas. There's that 5-day break between the 23rd and the 28th. I'm not going to go live on the 21st and then do a pod on, say, the 28th to just recap the 23rd and the 28th. So I'm going to hold off. I'll go live with the pod on the 23rd, recap those last 4 games from that week, and then from the 28th to the 3rd is, I believe, when the next recap would be. So yeah, we're going to do that instead. So, yeah, that is going to do it for this episode, this first episode of the Hardwired, not the Hardwired, sorry, the Bleu Blanc Banter Podcast. Bleu Blanc Banter, sorry, you got to say it with the French accent. You got to make sure that it's, you got to make sure that the French accent is very well exonerated in there. But yeah, this is the first episode of the Bleu Blanc Banter Podcast. This is Harry Rice here, not only on the Harry Rice YouTube channel, I forgot to mention the Hardwired Network YouTube channel. If you're watching here on Hardwired, go subscribe to the Harry Rice channel. If you're watching on Harry Rice, go subscribe to Hardwired. It's a really fun project I'm starting with Hauser. You guys might know him on the Harry Rice channel as Sporty. So yeah, that is going to do it for this podcast. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a wonderful night, ladies and gentlemen. I hope to see you again in the future. And, yeah, we will have more episodes, like I said, of this coming out probably every Saturday. Again, barring those rare weeks where it just works out better if I go live on the Monday, like 2 weeks from now. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Please hit the like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you all for coming by. Hope to see you again next week. Always remember, no matter how bad we were last year, how good we are like this year, hopefully, for the remainder of the year, and how good we'll be in the future. Go Habs, go, ladies and gentlemen. This is Harry Rice. Habs rule, baby. You know it. Go Habs, go.